Hi, gorgeous ones. Welcome to number 5 in my distraction series, where I am reading to you from my first book, The Men I've Almost Dated, in an effort to help distract you from the worrying times that we are now living in with coronavirus. So, today I'm up to page 24, and I am starting the chapter called The Smell of Sex. So, if there are little ears around, you might want to put on your headphones. Or if you are offended by talking about sex, then this clearly is not the video for you. Let's get into it, shall we? The smell of sex. I also began to realise around this time that men could innately smell when a woman was back on the market, sometimes even before she was aware of it herself. I knew this because as my marriage started breaking down, the new me began attracting a lot of masculine attention. I found myself being flirted with at work, at the shops, at clubs and pubs, and everywhere else. It was a novel and completely new experience. I actually believed they could smell sex on me. Like the proverbial dog scampering after a bitch on heat, men would sniff me out and behave in the most bizarre ways to attract my attention. Male colleagues and associates would find an excuse to chat to me, touch my hair unexpectedly, and comment on my appearance. One even opened my car door and kissed me on the cheek after a work meeting. So not appropriate. Men with long-term partners began greeting me with hugs and hands that lingered just a little too long on my hips. I've always thought cradling a woman's hip bones connotes intimacy and is something only a lover or potential lover should do. I'm sure those men were thinking exactly the same thing. Late one afternoon, I returned from a walk and found Daniel and his friend Sam chatting in the garage. I'd been caught in the rain, and Sam chose to comment on this by reaching over, dragging his finger slowly up my arm and saying, "You're all wet." I don't think he was talking about the water on my skin. Bizarrely, Daniel was standing right beside me, and I don't think he even registered the undercurrent. I often wondered if he noticed the attention I was attracting, and part of me felt like he didn't see me as a sexual woman at all. As time passed, men exhibiting poor judgment and low impulse control became commonplace in my world. I didn't consciously encourage the behaviour, I just thought men were behaving weirdly. I was pretty naive and inexperienced. Daniel was the first and the only man I'd been intimate with, so I was ill-equipped to deal with the attention. It was the obviousness of their behaviour that most perplexed me, and Peter was just another example of very unsubtle male weirdness at the time. I was chatting to some colleagues at a work function when I noticed him standing nearby. "Oh, hi, it's Peter, isn't it?" I said. "I think we met at the pub a couple of weeks ago for drinks with Anna. You were with your partner, Candice." At this point, Peter reached across in front of 2 other people, lightly grabbed my upper arm and said laughingly while intently holding eye contact, "Don't call her that. She's not really my partner." My first thought was, what the hell is he doing? Anna said he's been dating Candice for years and they're moving in together. These types of incidents became the rule, not the exception. And I hated all the attention, didn't I? I wanted to slap their faces and tell them all to fuck off, right? Honestly, no. I'm ashamed to admit that while I was tormenting myself about whether to leave my marriage, another part of me loved the attention I was receiving. I didn't really know what to do with it, why it was happening, or how to manage it. But yes, part of me loved it because it reminded me I was a desirable woman. Perhaps it was the universe telling me that even if I left my marriage, there would still be men in my future. It was a difficult time. I needed to leave part of me behind, but I wasn't ready to step off the precipice into the future. I became increasingly reckless with my emotions and behaviour. I was just a little bit out of control. I drank too much, stayed out late, talked too much, and generally attracted a lot of attention. Some friends in similar situations had affairs, often with deeply scarring results. Ugly confrontations with partners, unwanted pregnancies, terminations, guilt, fear, exhilaration, and adrenaline. A heady cocktail of sex was seeping through every pore of our bodies and into relationships where it had never existed before. My life was changing into something I didn't recognise. The smell of sex was just the start. I'm going to pause there. It's the end of the chapter. As you can see, the chapters are quite short and they're quite easy to move through very quickly. I'm really curious to know, when you have listened to today's video, if you can relate to this idea of the opposite sex being able to sense intuitively when you are starting to look elsewhere outside your relationship. Because I certainly, from what I've observed in my own experience and the experience of other people I know, it's not an unusual occurrence. People actually do seem to sense it. The opposite sex, or whatever sex it is that you are seeking to attract or attracted to, they know somehow what's going on and they start to approach you. And as I said in that chapter, behave in ways where you're just like, what the hell? What the hell are you doing? And my experience is that men aren't always very subtle. In fact, I would say that when a man wants you, you pretty much know, and if you think he's coming on to you, he pretty much is. If you think he's flirting with you, he is. And that's my experience, although I do know that some would deny that and say, oh no, I never did that. But I'm here to tell you, honey, if you think a man is hitting on you, 99.9% of the time, he is. Trust me on that. And anything he tells you otherwise is him just not owning his own behaviour. Rightly or wrongly, who am I to judge? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there today. I hope I've managed to distract you for yet another day. Please check back in for the next video tomorrow. And the next chapter is called The Departure Lounge. So let's see where that takes us. Take care. I'm sending you all lots of love, and I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.